I don't really believe in racism, but like if he does, like it's not really like that's his opinion. It's hard to listen to her go on and on about how great he is when he says some nasty racist stuff. Oh my god, I just felt the rage transcending black men, particularly going for white women because it is very enhancing for their social status. Hello, welcome. I'm gonna talk about the impact of love built off of a fantasy. And I think when a lot of people talk about, these fantastical relationships, it sounds very surface, as if relationships that have been going on for, they're deep into the relationship, they've been going on for years, months, whatever. And it it almost feels like it doesn't really apply for them because, well, I mean, they're deep into it, like they've built a life together, they've coordinated, what's it called, I don't know, they've merged, which is also another problematic um statement. I mean, what is not so problematic about love as trademark? Anyway, so we're gonna try and dissect a little bit of what this notion of love built on fantasy entails. And alongside it, we're going to try and maybe look at the impact it has and how we view things, the world, relationships mostly, ourselves actually being the main one in the sector of relationships that we have with ourselves, relationships that we have with our own values or stands. So that goes with the respect as well. This was current news. It's been a while since it was mainstream discussions, but it didn't reach anyone. It didn't reach everyone. I know that because I was trying to speak with my friends and they were like, "What are you talking about?" So, but again, it's a lot of things on the internet. No matter how popular and how mainstream they seem, there's a lot of places they haven't reached, and it's kind of scary now because of how many things could just like be so famous and coexist and never interact in that way where people know about them. Like they all have their specific audiences, but they're all very famous. I wasn't like that before, is what I'm trying to say. Before, if one thing was, I mean, still we have subjects that are that exist on everyone's radars, but before I think was much more common for things to be popular, and it's popular for all of the audiences, and there wasn't much classifications. The drama of the Danish Deception, where this girl, I think it would be so cool to have like a visual of it for you guys, but I don't really know how to do that. But I'm gonna tell you a quick recap of what happened. It was this girl, she was talking about her, let me search it up. Okay, yeah, wow, this is actually super short. Black woman meets white guy overseas, they hit it off, start dating, eventually marry, and along the way he borrows hundreds of thousands of dollars from not only her, but her friends, family, and really anyone in her circle. I really need others to discuss this mess because, huh? Okay, yeah. So she was comparing her story. As soon as it started, she was comparing her story to Risa Tesis, which she did Who the Fuck Did I Marry? That series. She was like, my story compares to that. That's how she started the series, the parts that she, it was quite a lot. But honestly, that's pretty much what happened. But as you would recognize as she's telling it, it's very much based off of the everything that was happening throughout the duration of the relationship. There were so many signs that were already okay, not to blame her or anything, because I think a lot of the perspectives I watched were in like they couldn't really understand what she was doing because there were signs that were obvious enough at least to question and pull off, but she just kept leaning back into that narrative of, oh, this is just how it is. They were together, I believe, for yeah, this is what they're saying. Her experience of ignoring or being naive to all the red flags resulting in getting finessed by a man is one thing, but at the end of learning the man scammed her parents, extended family, sister, multiple friends, or coworkers, also some other people connected to her, was absolutely baffling. I can't wrap my head around not being curious and Google searching a man, especially when they are making outlandish claims such as, yeah, he claimed to be an Olympian, he claimed to have a royal blood, he claimed to being a millionaire, and I think so much was at play for why she made the decision she did. And yes, he's definitely an con artist, but him being a white European contributed to him gaining all this trust, benefit of the doubt, and access to get what seems like 500K plus from her and her circle. I agree. I feel like race has a lot to play with it as well. It has a lot to do with it, and in discussing love that is built on fantasy, a lot of the times we see that being very much more possible when it comes to the race, the gender, and the appearance of someone, which she starts off the video actually. She goes on to talk about how she starts out talking about this like love story of her and her husband, later to be found a scammer, how they met, right? And it's very interesting because the whole the whole thing about how she was trying to tell the story was like she was trying to take us along the journey of how she felt at the time and how much of a scene it was, starting from how they met, how the relationship progressed, how he was treating her, how she felt about him, how she was resistant, but like how she just couldn't help but just fall for the guy, how perfect he was. And she's trying to take us along that journey of, that trust building and then collapse. It was a style of storytelling, for her medium that she chose. But that this is where a lot of people lost her, because what she was describing and what she was is like linking to love was not love. It wasn't even like care. It wasn't. Do you guys believe love is subjective? How we view love? I don't know, but even if we are just talking about what she desired and how that was given by him, it was very much not that. She kept mentioning things like how he was European, and that comes into play. Okay, not European, he was a white man. First of all, he was a white man as she first perceived him. He was a white man, he was tall, I believe, and she was talking about how he was He had this chiseled face, that typical appearance that usually society deems. Also, they met at this like destination place where they were vacationing. So you'd imagine that they both came from a privileged place where they could vacation at the place and so on. So there's this attachment of, oh, status. Also, status doesn't only come from money and just like class, but it also comes in, well, yeah, I guess it's like status is very much linked with all the things that I've mentioned before. A lot of people, when you'd watch, you'd see a lot of like, uh, this is like a whole topic, and I don't really have any evidence to back it up right now, but there are very well researched and well researched like uh, articles and videos made on this. Of the things we see in our social spaces, we see a lot of black people, black men particularly, going for white women because it is very enhancing for their social status. And they get caught up in that fantasy that they ignore everything else. So a lot of these things, there are patterns in which that fantasy is created. That's why I say like it's not just about money. It's a lot of things. I believe like one of my favorite creators, she named it as like a social tool. So everyone is just trying to navigate the social tool that would finally get them up on the ladder, on the social ladder. Going back to this topic, she mentions all these things, and navigating the story with her from her perspective as she was experiencing it, it becomes very obvious that it wasn't this love that she fell into. It wasn't that this person was actually, a good person and they were. I mean, I'm not going to dismiss that completely, but more so than that was that lifestyle, that social status, and the narrative that is created when she is in that relationship felt so much like that security and that fantasy, that dream come true where you want to cling on to it. Same thing with men, women and men. Women want to get into a relationship with men to enhance that social status, to feel more desired. Also, I want to do a video on that, on wanting to be desired and that whole thing where it leads people to very, very wrong and concerning places. But that alone, just having a man, it gets you to be perceived in different ways. In your circles, in the society, it in itself, it attaches a lot of meaning. It says a lot. So that's what my girl was doing. I feel like a lot of it, I can't really get into the specifics, but maybe we will actually. Let's try to find some things. There was a lot of like I wouldn't say low key. For me, it was pretty racist things that he would be saying, which brings me to my point of like a lot of these relationships people get into that you can kind of recognize as being not very much out of love, but out of the fulfillment of the fantasy of it, is they avoid very hard conversations. They don't really avoid it. I don't think they even acknowledge it enough to avoid it. They just completely ignore it. Such as how race would play into the relationship, which I think is very basic things to discuss. How your identity in the society that you live in, and especially as you, because then they got married in like 3 months. So, especially as you get married, you're gonna have to be like collaborating the family. So then that's a thing that you would want to discuss, right? I don't know if they discussed it in private. I don't know what it was, but she mentioned some things that were kind of racist, and she was fine with kind of adding to it, being, do you know what I mean? Do you know that type of people where they just want to be like, oh yeah, you're right. The validation is not from the black people that they need, it's from the white people, the white man, the white rich man. No, but he said something about Nigerians being thieves. No, I think she brought it up. She was like, oh, don't, my dear white man, there are thieves in Nigeria. So this could be real conversations. You know, some people will have knowledge about places that you're going to, so you want to prepare the other person. That's one thing. It just felt weird to me how she was saying it. And then he was calling, no, she made the joke of like, you know, usually Nigerians are the scam. No, one of her friend or something, or his friend, made a joke about, oh, Nigerians are usually the scammer, the ones who are scammers, but you're the one who got scammed. And she really cackled at that, and I'm very confused because sure, it could be some type of a darker joke that doesn't really hold any truth behind it. But then again, from the things we heard, who knows? As I was talking about, a lot of values were obviously not discussed because, well, just the knowledge that I have of them rushing into marriage in such a short amount of time tells me everything I need to know, because there's no way you've covered topics of importance in such a short amount of time. So short that you've done that to go ahead and like bind yourself to this relationship forever. It just doesn't seem very realistic to me. But aside from that, but also aside from that, there were very telling things, such as the value that was put in this dynamic of, oh, we went to vacations together, and we went here, and then we traveled here, and you know what I mean? Things of the superficial nature. Then again, I don't know. Maybe that works for some people. It obviously didn't for this case, but okay, here's a good article, I think. This is what I've noticed a lot. I think it's from the pressure of being coupled for the most part. These things lead to people compromising a lot of their core values because they don't really see it as something worth maintaining if it means having to sacrifice this fantasy. Have you seen that trend of like people asking the question of, if a friend of yours has a boyfriend, let's say, and that boyfriend is like racist or homophobic or something, and but that wouldn't really reflect on them because it's him that has it, Search it. I saw it on Instagram, but hey, Reddit is where it's at. What did the Reddit people say? Am I the asshole? This just says my friend's boyfriend is racist. This is way more common. I'm telling you guys, I've been seeing this a lot. And everyone's like, well, everyone has their own opinions, okay? Like, I don't really believe in racism, but like, if he does, like, it's not really like that's his opinion, and like, I don't agree with him, but my friend, let's call her Gail, got a new boyfriend, Ben, last spring. I love her to pieces, and we normally hang out a couple times a week. But having to spend time with her boyfriend is draining me. There are a lot of problems with Ben, but the main one is that he doesn't like my husband's race. I can't do it. Okay. But the main one is that he just doesn't like my husband's race. He set up at least tangentially, but sometimes directly. A few times every single time we see him, and there's always a new comment or conspiracy. Conspiracy! He doesn't particularly enjoy my racial background either. No discrimination there, okay? But it's very visceral and pointed towards my spouse. Gail knows that Bane is. I mean, I would hope she knows that at this point, you know? She's admitted it in a conversation, but there's as far as it gets. Honestly, I'm pretty upset that she's okay with him being racist and thinking that her apologizing for it when we're alone makes up for. That's a lot of the things I hear also is that, oh, I'm so sorry about him. I'm so sorry that that's his opinion. She wants us to hang out together, but I just refuse, and it's putting a strain in our relationship. I don't even particularly like hearing about him or their relationship either, which I think is an unfair reaction on my part. But still, it's hard to listen to her go on and on about how great he is when he says some nasty racist stuff. Oh my god, I just felt the rage transcending. But see, this is what I mean. They can ignore it. They can ignore it completely as if this is just a disagreement on what type of flower one likes. It's a non-issue. And then they can go back right to that fantasy of, but like, he's so great. Oh my god, he like took me to dinner. And what was the main points? He's handsome, he's rich, he has a particularly higher class than me that would bring me up uh, in the social hierarchy. Or he's just a man and I'm in a relationship, and that alone brings me up the social hierarchy. Whatever it may be, that is what they want to stick to, the fantasy. And these people are actually, just because she mentioned it, right? These people are actually a lot of the times the ones to claim the perfect relationship. Why would a relationship be perfect? Well, I get it. Perfect could be just like a word. What do I do here? Just resume seeing him and stifle it all up? Tell her I don't want to hear about him anymore. Just keep avoiding hanging out with him and just let her talk about their relationship and how great it all is. But you know what the thing is? I can't even say, oh, like cut them off, cut both of, like, because I know the struggle. I also struggle with these things. I don't know what to do, and it messes with me. So I can't say that, but I would love to be the person to say that, because this is crazy. This is crazy, but it is very common. Let's see some of the responses. I mean, this is a racist person. Why are we like? Why is this a normal thing of compromising your core value in order to stay with a person? Unless that isn't your core value, unless racism is in the line, which then puts you against my core value, you know? This is crazy. Okay. But this is my point, okay? Let's read more of these because this is fun. Am I overreacting? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be part of this YouTube community, guys. This is so fun. Hi, I just want to get some outside perspectives on the situation. My best friend, A, has been dating her boyfriend, B, for a little over a year now. The first time our group met him, he made a very bad impression on us, but since then, we have tried to keep an open mind and be friendly. There have been multiple incidents of him being inconsiderate, rude, etc. in the time we've known him. A few months ago, I was visiting A, and B was at her place too. After telling us to leave the bedroom as he wanted to be alone, we sat in another room and ordered takeout. I'm sorry, this is her place, no? Okay. B came in and asked A to order him something. As we wait for the food, B starts saying some concerning things regarding immigrants. People of different races to us. We're all whites, and B comes from a small town with very few minorities. I had a rather heated discussion with him when he said that black people ruin every. Guys, why am I doing this? Ruin everywhere they go. Okay, as well as various other racist things. This went on for around 10 to 15 minutes. A kept asking him to stop, and after he left, was upset and embarrassed by him. However, said he isn't racist. Wow, that's a new one, actually. Fast forward to now, me and the other people in our group have all talked about how we do not like B. For me, the racism was the final nail in the coffin that took him from being annoying to insufferable. We all go out for drinks, and B is irritating me. I made some snide comments and later had an argument with B. I realize now I shouldn't have even bothered with this and acted immature. But what's done is done. I got upset with him for being hostile. Honestly, it's difficult for me to act friendly with the man who's shown his true nasty colors. I don't like him, blah blah. I keep seeing him like questionable news posts with clear racist undertones. I brought this up to A and she defends him, saying the posts are true. What do you mean? Okay, at this point, I feel like I feel like there's gonna be a distinction of two categories. Obviously, this is very limited, but I think some people truly compromise their values because they truly think their values are not going to be like changed in any way when they get into a relationship with people who have a very basically the opposite of what their values are. And sometimes they just consider it just as that, as this passive thing that isn't going to affect the world that they live in. Because, like, these are serious things that are going to have real consequences, but then they choose to view it as this, like, abstract idea that will have no meaning, just something that stays as that. But, so they just feel like that's really an inconsequential type of thing. But I think group two, I think it's just like they feel like they've finally gotten the opportunity to really lean into some thoughts that they never thought they could express because of the that their circle that they usually are surrounded in. So they just keep it neutral. Usually they keep it as, oh no, I don't. Yeah, no, don't hate on people or don't do this. Just they keep it neutral, nothing, not much of a stand. But then when they get the opportunity to take that stand, they do that, but they're not willing to sacrifice this side as well, where neutrality has kept them safe. This is interesting that we have now formed archetypes for them. I'm starting to get frustrated with A for not holding B to some standards she would anyone else. Yeah, why do we think that? If you think that she would be holding anyone else to these standards, then again, we can assume that this is exactly what my point is. I feel like I could be overreacting because I'm the only one who has stopped acting friendly with B. Even though our other friends have admitted they don't like him, I feel it's against my morals to be friendly with someone who's shown. Yeah, because I feel like when we talk about values as well, morals are the main ones, which I think morals are actually brushed off quite often than not as politics. Like, well, no, like I don't really care about politics, but it's just morals that they're referring to because it's a good way to not take responsibility for that or to not be forced to acknowledge that. Also, people say that it usually starts off with infatuation. So, for the first couple of weeks or so, or months even, it could go deeper. You don't really see anything that they are doing or saying. It's all filtered. But then it becomes this active choosing of ignoring it for the sake of the fantasy. Guys, I'm so sorry. Like, I have one video ideas and I have like a title for them, and I feel like I need to repeat them every 2 seconds, or you'll forget what it's all about. Or maybe it's because I think I'll forget, which I definitely would. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this had you thinking. This was a fun format for me. Consulting Reddit is my daily routine, so ciao.